Good morning, guys. So this is first video on the testing expert platform. So today I'm going to explain about you the testing. So basically, what happens is whenever you are very new to testing field, right? So you don't know what's the actually the what is the hierarchy and what is a tester doing inside what do you call inside a company. So basically, this material is for those people who are very new to the testing field and they want to adopt or enter into the new testing field or software quality assurance, what we call. So I have a decade of experience with the testing. So with all those what do you call experience, I'm going to explain you about what is the testing and how you can just face interviews with some common basic understanding the fundamentals of the testing. So starting with software testing concept. So let me tell you what is the basic software testing. So as you can see the definition you will get everywhere, even in the Google, even in the Chat GPT, everywhere. But nobody will explain you what it is and how it is in the real time experience. So software testing is the process of evaluating, verifying that a software application or system meets the specified requirements and works as expected. First, I'll read the definition. I'll tell you what it is. The goal is to identify and fix any bugs, defects, or issues in the software before it is released to the end users. So, what ideally happens is whenever, say, I'll give you the example. I'll not teach you the definitions. I'll give you the examples. The first example, what I can give you is on the mobile phones. So, new generation is very fond of the new mobile phones, right? We have iPhone, Android. A lot of phones we if we go for a new phone, so what you'll do the first thing, so first you'll generally the new generation will just on the camera, especially the front camera, and test how it is, how they are looking it, and what are the options available with it. And then you'll call to another person and you'll speak, you'll open the Facebook, you'll open Instagram. So a lot of things, all the social media, you will do everything and each and everything. So what actually you're doing here, this is nothing but the testing. So this is a kind of a dynamic testing. We call this ad hoc testing, what you're doing. So professionally, we call it ad hoc testing because you don't know, you don't have a particular plan to test. So you're just randomly opening the camera, randomly opening the Facebook, and whatever you're doing. So just to make sure that everything is working. So that is what the software testing is all about. So later in the when you come up when you go into the testing, deep dive into testing, you can segregate into mobile testing. So whatever I gave you example is the mobile testing. And when you look for the application testing, right? So something you are booking a IRCTC ticket from your laptop or your desktop. You're booking the IRCTC, www.irctc.com. So when you enter it, you log in. So you log into the website, you book a ticket, you get a confirmation, you pay. So whatever you do, it's a web application. Whatever you do on the desktop, it's a web application. And whatever you do on the mobile, it's called mobile testing. So as simple as that. But definition, yeah, you have to say the definition in the interviews. I cannot assure you because what I believe is you give a better example of what a software testing is. Understand the things instead of just going with the definition. Just understanding the things so that it will be easy for you to explain in a clear platform. So what it is, how it is, why it's happening. So try to analyze the things and understand, and then explain. Put your words, new words, and explain it to the interviewer or wherever it is. So now, why the software testing is important? So as I let me take the same example. So software testing, why it is a very important role, because whenever any software comes to the market, right? So unless it is tested, it is not released to the market. Why? Because say by iPhone, say for example, everything I will give you example and tell you, because without example, it's very hard to explain the English jargons in that software testing. So with examples, I'll tell you how it is, where it is, why it is, everything. So importance of software testing. So if I tell you which phone is better one, the iPhone or Android, so which one is the better one? Yeah, nobody know, means everybody has their own opinion, but I don't want to create a debate of it. But ideally, I don't like iPhone. Yeah, the UI is good, but for some reasons, in my opinion, the Android, I like Android more. So what happened is why people prefer iPhone and Android. Inside the Android also there are so many companies. So we might have seen many Chinese companies are into the market. Very reputed Chinese companies are there. So Indian companies are into the market, but we prefer a phone which is very stable. So how the company makes the phone as stable? You mean to say not disconnecting the call, the camera is good and it's not warming up. So when you speak for about an hour, right, the phone gets warm. So that is a bad quality in the sense the testing is not been to that level. So the more testing they do, the more they charge for the phone. So if you look at the iPhone, right, what is the cost of the iPhone? Because the testing is very precise there. Each and every component and each and everything they test properly and thoroughly, and only then it will be released to the market. And they also check the thresholds of the frequency, everything. So that for that reason, the price of the what do you call the iPhone is much higher compared to the other mobiles. And so if you go by the slide, the insurance quality reduces, yes, reduce, as I told you, the threshold frequency, everything is tested, improves user experience. Again, the iPhone. So why iPhone, the UI of the iPhone, why the people prefer UI? Because it's been tested at thoroughly and there is no hiccups, there is no hang on the phone. So even if you see government websites and the private websites will be very amazing. If you see the government, it will be simple format, simple tables with a lot of log on, log out. The server is busy because if you see in the government websites, right? So particularly on a daytime, when you go to the registration office or land records office, the server will be down. Why it's not happening in case of Axis Bank? Why it is not happening in case of HDFC Bank? Because they are all private banks. Why means the server, whatever the server the government and the private is handling, right? The server is unable to handle so many requests. So when IRCTC, when a lot of people are accessing the IRCTC website, it goes down because the server is unable to handle so many users. At the same time, Axis Bank is being accessed by so many people greater than the IRCTC users, right? Because Axis is a worldwide bank. So when people when access to the access, it never goes down because the quality, the server handling capability, so everything is very optimized and what do you say, it is very on a higher range because the quality of the product is good. They are spending too much on the quality of the product. That's why you see the difference between the two websites. Okay, and that's for the improve user reduce risk to quality. We have to ensure that the quality is good, and the more the quality is good, the more the price goes higher. And next is the types of software testing. So if you generally in today's world, if you consider, right, there are two types of software testing. One is the manual, and the other I can say the automation testing. So right now I'll say you what is the manual testing. So generally, what happens is when the manual testing starts, right, what is manual testing? So if you look at what is manual testing, something you're testing it manually. Okay, so how you test is you just go to a website, test by entering the login and username. You enter it, and you enter your username and password, and you log in. You go do some access, transactions there, come out. So this is basically you're checking manually, going by each and every screen and entering the data. So this is called manual testing. So everything you're doing it by on your own. Okay, and there is no involvement of the third party or any other, no tool. You is not using any tool at all. Tool in the sense, uh, so any third party, there is a tool between interaction, right? So if I want something to be done via any other person, that is called automated. So being sitting at your home, you want other person to do your work. It's kind of automated. You are just telling him and he is taking care of everything. Instead of you go there and do your work, that is called manually you have to be there, personally you have to be there, you do all the work, you come back. Here what we are seeing in the similar basis on similar concepts we call manual testing is you go and you test it and make sure everything is working and making sure you're certifying something. Whereas automation thing, right, automation, the name itself you tell you that you're automating the things. So I want to test a website. I have a tool. We basically nowadays we are using the Selenium tool, And in the Selenium tool, what Selenium tool actually do is it will open the website, it will log in, it will do the transactions, it will log out, and it will do all financial transactions, whatever. But provided you give them the input what you want to do it. So, right, it cannot just do it on its own. You have to tell. To tell them, you have to write a script. So that is why we call this as automated. Automated means you are writing, you're telling something to the machine or the tool using a script. So using that script, it will execute the so and so process, and it will just give you the result what happened. Okay, so that is we call as automation testing. So next we go to the levels of testing. So we can see what are the levels are there. So if you see, the first level is the unit testing. First level is the unit testing. So the unit testing, so the name itself, it's telling you that it's a unit with single component. So generally what happens is focus on individual components or functions of the software, often done by the developers. Goal is to verify that each part of the software works as expected. Each part in the sense, say suppose when you have a phone, right, example with a complete presentation, I'll tell you the example of by taking example as phone. So inside the phone, there are a lot of functionalities, right? So each the contacts, the camera, the multimedia, the gallery, the folder structure. So each component we call as a unit. So each unit is developed by a separate developer. So before pushing the code or before what do you call getting it ready, each developer will test whether their unit is working or not. So that we call particular testing is a unit testing. Ideally, the developers will do this unit testing. They have a different what I call different patterns or different process for doing this unit testing. So ideally, I don't think the QA guys will be doing it. It's generally done by the developers, the unit testing. So the goal is to just make sure that the particular independent part is working or not. Then integration testing in the B, you can see the integration testing. Ideally, what integration testing is, now I said about the unit testing, right? The different parts. So all parts put together, uh, all parts put integration testing. So as I said you the individual parts, right? So we have a different parts when each and every developer will test and make sure that it's working fine. Then they all put together will make a product. So example again a phone. So contacts, camera, everything they'll put in a phone and they'll test whether when they collectively they are put together whether it's working or not. Because, example, if I say you the cricket team, right? So we have West Indies players, you know that each player performs really well. So when you see any franchise, right, like RCB and Mumbai Indians, so each has a good Caribbean player like West Indies. We have Gale, we had a Gale in the RCB, and we have Pollard in Mumbai. So they are performing really well individually, but they when they all put together in the West Indies team, right? So we know what will be the result. So it happens. So each and every part performs well individually, but when they integrate together, right, there will be a lot of dependencies and a lot of things will be there. So we have to overcome that. So that sort of testing we call as integration testing. When they put together, we have to see whether all together is working fine or not. So that we call as integration testing. So definition goal, I don't want to go over it because I have explained you what it is and how it is. So next, we'll see about the system testing. So validates the entire system as a whole to ensure it meets the requirements. So now we have put together, okay? And system testing is nothing but now the all functionalities together and you are putting into a system, you are putting into a hardware. Say suppose again the mobile phone, all the functionalities we have pushed to the mobile phone, and mobile phone is a completely set of the functionalities and a hardware set. Now you have to perform the testing, so validate the entire system as a whole. So entire system whether it's performing with the functionalities or not, so that is how we call a system testing. And acceptance testing it's nothing but once integration is done, once the system is done, and then you have the acceptance. Acceptance in the sense that functionality should work as it is supposed to in a system. So this is about the call functionality. So once the system is ready, once my mobile phone is ready, then you have to make sure that the functionality is working or not. So on a system, I'll make a call to my friend, and I'll just disconnect, and it will show the call summary. So that is the acceptance of a calling functionality. That's what we do in acceptance testing, while the software meets the business requirement ready for release. Okay. Okay, next types of testing. So now we have seen how the testing is, what type of test, what are the different stages of testing: unit testing, integration, system, and acceptance. Now we go for the types of testing. So ideally, there can be two types, functional and non-functional testing. So functional, I said you the functional, right? So whatever the functionality you do on a phone or a website, a complete functionality, we call it the functional testing. Verifies that the software functions according to specified requirements. So there will be a set of requirements given by the project manager or whoever business analyst. So we take that requirement and build test the mobile or application, whether it's satisfying this requirement or not. So this complete is we call it functional testing. You are just testing the function of that particular device with respect to the requirement. So examples, unit testing, integration, all comes into functional testing. When go to non-functional, as name itself, right, it's telling you non-functional, it's not functional. But it's not making a call and observing the whether this call is going, and uh, you are what do you call, you are mapping with the requirement. It's not mapping with the requirement, so it's not functional in the sense there is no function behind it. Say suppose for example I have given as performance testing, usability and security. Performance in the sense, so what happens if I try to access a server with 1,000 users? So that is not functional, right? That comes under kind of load. You are putting the load. So those types of testing is also non-functional. Usability, security is something, a loophole. So you might have seen many hackers are hacking our websites, right? Indian websites. So that type of testing is not non-functional. They just see a loophole and they just dig in there and they hack our system. So that type of testing we generally call as non-functional testing. And go to regression testing. Regression testing is nothing but when there is a bug, right? When there is an issue in a system and the developer fix it, and tester test it, and what happens is due to this fix, right, it might cause a problem to others. Okay, so whatever the function, the fix the developer has given, that will create some sort of disturbances to other functionalities. It might. So that's why the tester is needed. So tester, what it do is, whatever the fix, suppose the submit button is not working in your website or your mobile, one of the app, the submit button is not working. The developer has provided the fix, submit button is working. Okay, and what the tester will do, he will submit it and he'll also check the other buttons around it, whether if that has broken, and after submit what happens, before submit what happens. He will try to analyze all the things and he will make sure that everything is working. So that sort of testing we call as regression. Regress, do a regress around the fix. So definition also tells the same: ensure the new code changes have not introduced new bugs or broken. Goal, verify the previously developed, tested software still works after changes. That's what I do. Smoke testing. The name itself is indicated smoke, right? Smoke in the sense, you might have seen a smoke, right? Smoke. Why the smoke occurs? Because there is some instability. So short circuit, or a lot of load is there. So the system got burned. The what do you call, the electric bikes sometimes catches fire. So and you can see the smoke. So what happens under extreme conditions? It emits a smoke. It become unstable, it breaks down. So that we call smoke testing. So why it is done is, whenever the software comes into environment, right, smoke testing is done just to make sure that when you do some operations on the functionality, on the app or on the web application, it shouldn't break. So that is the reason we call as smoke testing. So generally, ideally, it will do by the testers. They just do the normal basic functionality. The first is the first and the foremost testing we do as a smoke testing as a tester, just to make sure everything is fine, not no smoke is coming out of the application, and then we'll pass it. So the definition also tells the same thing: a preliminary test to check if the software build is stable enough to further testing. quickly access whether the software is ready for more in-depth testing. So the next testing comes once your smoke is passed. Okay, and sanity testing. Sanity is checking a kind of what do you say? If I say sanity, sanity is very important functionalities. So when a manager tells a QA to do a sanity test, what he will do is when there are some 10 buttons, he will check the functionality of each and every button. First button should make a call, second button should open a text message, third button should disconnect the call, fourth button should open the multimedia. So similarly, so the sanity is just to make sure that every the functionality what it is meant for, it is doing its their work. Okay, that's it, nothing else. No more of load testing, no more of in-depth testing, nothing. You just make sure that the basic functionality is working, so that we call as sanity testing. How the testing life cycle is, so how it starts, how it ends. There should be certain life cycle, right? So as and when I cannot start a testing, so there should be some timelines to start and end testing. So let me look at the timelines. So first the requirement analysis. So once you as a tester, right, you will get a requirements in a document. Requirements are provided by business analyst or product manager, whomever it is. You get the requirements. You study those requirements. For anything to build or test, right, you need something in the sense somebody has to say what should happen and what is the expected behavior and what is the bug, and he should give you this particular requirements. So that we call as requirement analysis. You understanding the testing requirement based on the specifications. Next is test planning. So you will start a plan. So how do defining the test approach, what is the test approach you have to be followed for this, what is the tool required for this, whether that automation tool is required and which automation tool is suitable for this. So everything you, and you start creating the test cases. So test cases are created against the test requirements. You see the test requirements and parallelly you create a test cases. Okay, then the test design, designing detailed test cases and preparing test data. So once you start preparing the test cases, right, you prepare each and every test case. Along with the test case, you need some test data. Test data in the sense, say suppose you are trying to test a login functionality in IRCTC. So what are the inputs for the login? Username, password. So this username and password we call as the test data. So some data you should need to put it into your username and password field. So that we call as the test data. Test execution, running the test cases and reporting the results. So you log in and you see blank page. So that's the error, right? So you just report it to the developer. That's it's not working. After login, you're getting a blank page. So how you report it? Via the defect reporting. The next step is defect reporting. You open a bug, you mention what is happening, you mention what is the username password, you mention the server name, you mention what is expected, you mention what is happening, and the developer will test it and see it's a bug, then he will fix it and he'll assign it to back. So again, retesting regression, once you get the bug on your name, right, again, so when the developer fix it, you do a retesting and do a regression. Retesting means again you log in, you enter the username, enter the password, you log in and see that that blank page should never come. And along with that, you do the regression also, right? Regression in the sense you see after logging in no blank page, after that do some operations. You just don't leave there, because along with the retesting, regression also is required just to make sure nothing is broken because of that fix. Finally, test closure, wrapping up testing activities, final reporting and closure. So everything is done and dusted. You have all the reports, all the bugs are fixed, you have a working web app, then you create a test plan, you create a report of that. What is the pass percentage, what is the fail percentage, what are the test case, what are the number of test cases, pass, fail, everything. What are the bugs raised, what are the bugs closed, what are the bugs opens, who is the tester. So everything you'll put together, you're presented, that we'll call as test closure. Key testing terminologies. So some of the keywords you got to know is in the testing is a bug. What is a bug? Sometimes the interviewers ask you what is a bug. As from the previous presentation, you might have known what is a bug. Anything which is not working, we call it a bug. A flaw or issue in the software that prevents it from working correctly. Okay, against the requirement. So whatever the requirement, against the requirement, it's working means it's not working as per the requirement, that we call as a bug. Test case. So whatever the scenarios you build and you create a test case, right? So out of the requirements, you create a test case. So login, put username, put your password. What is expected? It should log in to the home page. So that is a test case. So that we call as a test case, where we have actions and expected result. Action is you put the login username and login password. The expected result is it should log into the home page. Test plan. So what is a test plan? So test plan means for this functionality, say suppose for the login page, you have so many test cases. For this, you have so many test cases. So based on that, what is the scope of the testing? So everything you call it as a test plan. Test script. So if you are doing automation, right, as I said, there should be some script. If you are performing any task via the automation tool, there should be something that you have to tell the automation tool to do a perform to do a task. So you're telling in terms of the script. So that we'll call as test script, an automated script that performs testing operations. So defect, any condition that cause the software to behave incorrectly. Any condition means the bug and the defect. We call a bug and defect interchange. We can either call as a bug or defect, but there is a difference between a bug and defect, which I'll teach you in my next video. What is the difference between a bug and a defect? So test data, as I said, the login username and password, there should be some data to input into the application. So that we call as a test data. Common testing tools. So in nowadays, in this world, we have lot of testing tools, but most common and most widely accepted tools are Selenium. I think each and every tester knows what is Selenium. Even a manual tester, even the automation tester, everybody knows what is a Selenium in today's world. It's a freeware or it's an open source. You can download it and you start playing around Selenium. So it's a web application where it's especially for the web browsers. It will open your the web address and it will do some operations. You can create a script, you can extract a script, you can play with it. JUnit. This is a kind of a framework for unit testing in Java for unit test. So if you in my next videos, I'll tell you what is the JUnit and how Java has been used in testing and how you can do unit testing using the JUnit and its annotations. So a lot of things are there. So we call it a unit testing framework for JUnit. I'll let you know in the next videos how the JUnit we can use it for testing. Jira, a project. I think most of them knows about the Jira. Is a management tool where you raise the bugs, where you keep your test plans, where you keep your test cases. So everything will be managed by on a single platform. We call it as a Jira. Postman, I think nowadays everybody knows about the Postman. Ideally, we use it for the API testing, where you give the endpoint and you give the request and you get the response out of it, and you analyze the response, you assert the response, you do whatever you want with the response. So especially for the API testing, we use this Postman tool. Load runner, as the name itself is indicates, a widely accepted tool for performance testing. So load the performance. So load means how many load you're performing. So you're logging it with 1,000 users at the same time. So that kind of load it can provide you a tool of performance testing of application. So it just execute the performance on a particular web application or any other thing. So it will give a load and it will monitor how the application is performing under the particular load. Best practices for the software testing. So start early, begin testing as soon as the software development. Yes, you have to start early. Don't wait for the complete development. You have to keep on involved. You have to involve in each and every stage of the development life cycle, and you have to start early. Automatic repeat test. Automate regression test and other repetitive tasks. So say suppose for testing any application, say suppose IRCTC, right? So whether to test the web application, you need to keep on logging in. So username every time you have to log in. So that's a repetitive functionality. So why don't you automate it so that you just click on one click, it will log in and keep you. So that sort of or a repetitive task we automate ideally. Use version control. So version control in the sense, say suppose there are 10 testers and 10 are working on the same file. Okay, so when they push it to the repository, right, it might put conflicts. So that's why to avoid it, we use the version control. Collaborate, communicate frequently with developer. Yeah, we have to do it in today's world. Most of them follow the agile methodology in that the developer, the product manager, stakeholder, everybody is involved together, communicate frequently so that to make sure everybody is on the same page. So the collaboration is more important in software testing. Track defects. So keep a record of all issues what you have, especially the P1 or severity one. issues, because you have to resolve it at the earliest, because it will block the complete testing team, and you have to handle it properly. You have to escalate the things if you have any blockers. Yeah, thank you. This is for this session. Yeah, very much. We will be. You can expect the next session very shortly. And this is our first video on this testing expert platform. Yeah, subscribe and keep watching. Thank you.